Hi, I'm James DeFries with Ask Mrgreenthumb, and today we're going to be talking about edible landscapes. We're here in Safety Harbor, Florida, and it's going to be an interesting show. Right, Dad?
We know that you're going to enjoy it, and stay tuned for the show.
Come grow with Stan and James DeFreitas on the Ask Mr. Greenthumb show. With a multitude of popular plant information, learn how to identify, grow, nourish, and explore the wonderful world of green lush gardens. We hope to enlighten your senses with new ways to plant healthy greenery. You too can get the Greenthumb blessing. Come grow with Stan and James DeFreitas on the Ask Mr. Greenthumb show.
Tanya, you have a beautiful landscape here. Now, you've changed things a lot to make this an edible landscape, right?
I have. When we got here about a little bit less than 2 years ago, it was actually a blank slate and just with a couple of palm trees, and we've added a lot since then.
I mean, when I look at things, in most landscapes today too, we have the traditional, 4 dead azaleas, 1 dead oak tree, 1 dead palm, and they call it the rumba package. But I think a lot of folks are thinking more like you are today, and that is, why not incorporate some edibles?
It is. I have seen that and noticed it as well. I think that it helps a lot with sustainability, where people want to be more sustainable in their life, and what they can do to incorporate that into their life is to plant an edible garden and to have some things out there. And it helps you stay in touch with nature, I think, too.
Well, I think it's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, and Tanya, so what exactly are you going to show us today? I mean, give us like a couple of plants that we're going to talk about today.
We have a lot actually in this yard, and we only have a 9,000 square foot lot, but we have over 40 fruit trees. We have bananas, papayas, we have over 200 pineapples, blueberry bushes. So it's definitely, we grow a lot of edible greens and different herbs and spices. So we have a little bit of everything here.
Nice, and I like your signs that just say, hey, if you're walking by, help yourself. I'm part of the community, and we definitely, you've got that friendly vibe going on.
We do try to make a community, especially wherever we end up. We try to make it a community and also making it a learning experience, to make it approachable for everybody. So I do try to label all of the plants and then say, help yourself, or this grows from cuttings or from seeds, so people can actually walk around, and we'll see our neighbors like gathering stuff or sitting down, and because we put the table out there for them, which is nice. And we also have a free plant stand with a little seed library to share.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like a real conversation piece by having that.
Seems like you're almost the Earth Mother here. You've got all these things you're trying to share with your neighbors in the world.
We do like sharing, yes.
I think that's a grand thing. I know you've got a mango behind us, you've got rosemary. Almost every square foot you've got something that can either be eaten or garnished on the table.
We do, yeah. Even if you look around behind us, we have some mint. We have a little mint patch right here. We have some pineapples growing, and we just planted these pineapples when we moved in, and we've already had about 10 this year. So we have 2 that are still ripening.
Now you've got a roselle, which used to be called the Florida cranberry, still is, I guess, by a lot of folks, because they'd actually used it that way, right?
Yeah, this is the true roselle. There's also a false roselle, but this one's the true roselle, and you can buy it in the store as as tea. So when they have the hibiscus tea, this is what they're usually talking about. It actually gives it's a tart flavor, and it's a beautiful red color. So you can make a tea out of it, or you can actually take these off and kind of boil them down, and you can make somewhat, it resembles a cranberry sauce, so it's perfect, especially because it's ripening right now, so it's wonderful for the Thanksgiving time.
Well, the early pioneers of Florida didn't have the ability to get cranberries down here very easy, and yet they still missed it, so they used that as a close substitute.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty convincing. Once you cook it down, it has that really tart flavor that cranberries have, so it is nice.
And also pretty healthy for you.
Yeah, it is. It has, I think, a lot of vitamin C in it.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Which we need for everything.
We do.
And it also makes a nice ornamental plant as well.
It is. It has these really pretty bright dark green leaves, and then the flowers are resemblant of like a hibiscus flower. And then they have these beautiful red pods that are just, I mean, every once in a while you find like little frogs hiding them too, so it's kind of cute. So it has
Little
like a
home.
little habitat, yeah. But yeah, it is beautiful, and they can get really big. We kind of keep ours trimmed back because they can get about 6 feet wide and about 5 feet tall. So we kind of keep ours small because we do have a smaller yard.
Yeah, that makes it nice. And of course, behind there, you've got a beautiful mango.
Yeah, we do. We have 8 different mango varieties planted in this yard. This is a good one. We actually dug this one from our last house and brought it with us.
Did you?
Yeah,
That's
we have
dedication.
Yes, we have a few that we brought from the other house. So this guy, we got from Colorfield Farms when they closed. So it was like a 20-year-old mango tree in a pot. So he's not going to get much bigger than that.
So he's almost been bonsai'd.
Yes, yeah. So he was root bound when we put him in there. So he was pretty easy to move.
Now, some mangoes we said can get to be 40 feet tall, but this one obviously you said you're going to be, since it was sort of bonsai'd to begin with.
There was, yeah, this one was root bound. We have a number of them that came root bound, which is perfect for us because it is such a small landscape that we don't want a 40-foot tree here. We want to keep ours for the most part with so we're able to reach the fruit.
Sure.
So I want to keep most of my fruit trees just under 15 feet so we can reach them. So having a root bound mango isn't a bad thing. And then the mangoes that we have grown that aren't root bound, we still plan on keeping it under 15 feet so that we can actually reach the fruit.
Now you've also, I see you've got, well, I don't know about avocados, but I see some banana farm over here to the side.
We do. We have 10 different varieties of bananas. We have some, again, I didn't realize before I started gardening that there's so many different varieties of bananas, from little tiny ones that are called truly tiny that don't get over 3 feet tall to, you know, huge 20-foot bananas that have these huge plantains, and some with red skin that ripen green, that ripen yellow. So we have a different number of types of bananas that we planted here.
I know I've grown like the apple banana, which sort of tastes like an apple, and I had one that was, I think, Rajapur from India that was supposed to be the sweetest in the world.
We have one of, but I grow the Rajapuri too, and that's it seems like one of the fastest ones to fruit, which is nice. And I mean, I have some friends that grow it, and they'll have 5 stalks going at the same time from like one banana base. So it seems like a great variety to grow.
I think it is too. Well, I think it's nice that your whole landscape kind of flows with edibles. Now I see you've got pineapples in a lot of different areas because it makes a nice ground cover, doesn't it?
You know, pineapples, they do though, take up some space, and they're so easy to grow. You can really, you can get a couple hundred at a time from the edible arrangements stores or from local farmers markets. You put them in the ground and they don't really take much after that. So they are really easy.
Yeah, they're rough and tough, and if you kill them, you need to contact me because I put you in for the Brown Thumber of the Year award. So it's one that's really a good one, I think, to have. Now I see you've got rosemary, and you've got so even your flowering plants could be used, like nasturtiums and things can be used on a salad.
Nasturtiums are a wonderful one to grow because they actually, you can eat the flowers and they're kind of spicy, and then the leaves get to be probably, 5-6 inches in diameter, and you can use it as a wrap. So a lot of the times when they're in season, we'll use those as a wrap, and we'll fill rice and different, greens and vegetables inside of that. So the nasturtiums are a really valuable plant, I think, in our yard.
I think it's amazing. And if we go to a restaurant and we spend $40 and they use some nasturtium flowers, we go, ooh. But if we were at home, we think, well, I don't know if I want to use those flowers in my palate.
We use a lot of flowers in our food. We do the daylily fulvas because it kind of tastes like peaches. The nasturtiums are spicy. We use society garlic, those flowers as well. Rose petals every once in a while. The spiderwort is a Florida native, and we'll use their flowers. Porterweed has a little tiny purple flower that kind of tastes like mushrooms. So there's a lot of edible flowers around that we use.
I think it's neat that you've incorporated all of this neat edible stuff into a landscape, and I think you're kind of ahead of your time because so many folks haven't come to that yet. But every time I go to the store and I'm spending $3 for this and $4 for that and $5 for that, I'm thinking, why aren't I growing more things in my own yard that I can eat as opposed to keeping the supermarket happy? Now, Tanya, you've got this beautiful blue pea, And you said you use it for all kinds of like teas and things?
You can use it for all sorts of different things. Yeah, you can use it to make a really nice, pretty tea that I love mixing with the roselle, with the falsy and the true roselle, and it makes this fuchsia color. And then also you can eat the flowers. It looks great in a salad. And then one of my favorite things though, especially the kids love it, is turning rice, this beautiful blue color. You take about 30 blooms, you put it in your rice and you cook it, and the whole pot of rice turns a beautiful blue color.
That sounds outstanding. Now, if you were going to steep it for tea, how long would you do it? Like 3, 4, 5 minutes?
About that, yeah. I mean, it seems like tea's probably about, yeah. I mean, it turns, I mean, you can see the color instantly. But yeah, what I like to actually mix it with is this guy right over here, the false roselle. We talked about the true roselle earlier. This is the false roselle, which has a very similar flavor. It's kind of tart, but instead of using the seed pods, you use the leaves.
Let's see.
And it has a nice tart flavor that's kind of citrusy, and these two mixed together makes a really beautiful tea. And actually, the roselle tea is supposed to lower your systolic blood pressure by about 20 points, which is interesting.
So that'd be interesting for folks who are on the borderline.
Yeah, it'd be there's a few different plants you can do that help with the blood pressure.
Now with this false one, you said you mostly use the leaves, right? And you don't use the flower part so much as you would?
You can eat the flower petals and they look pretty. They're like, they range from like a light pink to a dark pink, but really what you're going after is the leaves on that plant. And it grows from cuttings pretty easily, so.
It has a hibiscus looking leaf, and I think it's in that same Malvaceae family, which would be the true hibiscus too.
I don't know if it's a true hibiscus or not. You got me on that one.
Well, I think it is, but people will have to check us out to make sure.
That's true.
So we've got all kinds of neat edible stuff. You've got mangoes, you've got papayas, you've got rosemary. Almost everything in your landscape could be eaten.
Yes, we have over 40 fruit trees, plus bananas and papayas. We have about 200 pineapples, a few different varieties, blueberries, blackberries, plus we have a bunch of edible greens as well, because that's important, some root crops. So yeah, herbs and spices. One of our favorite fruit trees is the guy right behind you. It's a Jamaican cherry. It's kind of, it tastes similar to a watermelon cotton candy flavor. It fruits within probably 6 months of getting it, and it fruits about 9 or 10 months out of the year. So this is a good one to have in this area.
Looks like a real nice little fruit, sort of a strawberry looking color. Sometimes I think called strawberry tree too.
It is. No, there's 2 different strawberry trees, so it kind of gets confusing, but this one is also called strawberry tree.
And because it has that little fruit that's sort of the size of a blueberry, and yet it has that, it'll get redder than that.
Yes, it gets bright red, but my kids never let it get that red. They always eat it right as soon as there's like a little bit of blush to it, but yeah, it will get pretty red.
Well, I think it's neat too that you've added little areas for your children to kind of incorporate them into the garden at a very early age, so that everything this will be very normal for them to think that the landscape should be one with them.
They think you can eat everything at this point. They do. We have a number of different areas where I let them garden and let them play, and they have their own seeds. So we'll get, different things popping up all sorts of different places. So they do a lot of gardening.
I saw your beautiful little daughter love to play in the dirt already, so she's already a dirt dauber type.
Yes, very much so. They're out in the dirt every day, so it's nice.
Well, I commend you for it. It's a great thing to do for the neighborhood. It's a great thing to do as a parent. You're doing a great job on both fronts.
Thank you. We try.
Now, Tanya, you've got a beautiful papaya back here, and you've got it bagged. How come?
Well, it's funny. Down here, we have a thing called papaya fruit fly.
Right.
It's a little bug that looks like a wasp, but it injects its...
Thank you. A little pepper as well.
Little peppers for my daughter.
You have a little snack while we're talking about your papaya. Thank you so much.
So it injects its eggs into the papaya and it can cause them to rot. But when it's newly pollinated, if you put a bag over the fruit, it actually stops the papaya fruit fly from being able to inject its eggs inside, which gives you a guaranteed papaya at the end of the season.
Which is interesting because she has like a long little ovipositor which she'll actually put into the fruit and inject her eggs in there.
Yeah.
And it can it can make the fruit bad. So that's one of the reasons that you have such a bagging situation here.
Yeah.
But of course we don't have cold here either, so the insects don't ever really get frozen like they might up north.
They don't, and after a lot of rain, yes, more please, thank you. after a lot of rain, I noticed right after the hurricane, all the papaya fruit flies went away. So that's why the ones that have bags on them are from before the hurricane, and I haven't noticed any sort of that kind of sap or latex that comes out. Thank you. So I think that the papaya fruit fly larvae all drowned in Irma, so we haven't had any recently.
Or maybe they got blown 100 miles away. I don't know.
Possibly.
But it is amazing how weather sometimes does, it can be a pain, but it also can be helpful in getting rid of some of our problems.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got mangoes back here, you've got a new bed you just planted. And you've got, well, I really appreciate Rowan bringing me my little pepper, so I have my pepper snack for the day.
She brings me peppers and mint a lot, yeah.
And I was amazed, it's really not hot. Normally red peppers are pretty hot.
When they're small, yeah.
And this is really quite good.
They are, they're delicious. I got that one from Wilcox Nursery. It's a little nursery that's close to me. And they had those little peppers, and I thought they were gonna be spicy as well, but they're not. They actually taste like red peppers, like bells.
And I see you've got, of course, mangoes, you've got, I see an eggplant looks like back there maybe, I'm not sure. You've got all kinds of things, at least it looks like an eggplant.
I don't think it's an eggplant. I think that one is a giant milkweed.
Giant milkweed, so that's for the butterflies.
That one is for the butterflies.
Okay.
I have heard that it is edible, but I haven't ventured quite that far yet. But yeah, back here we have everything from moringa for the leaves and citruses, pigeon peas, which is kind of like an edamame. You can steam them and eat them like an edamame. We have a bunch of loquat trees.
They have good fruit too. They're in the rose family.
They do. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're in the flower is very similar, and that's how you identify plants for the flowers is one of the ways. And so it's in that same family. And the fruit, of course, has sort of a nice fruit with either 3 seeds or sometimes no seeds, but usually some seeds.
Yeah, it kind of tastes like a peach to me almost.
Yeah.
And they have those newer varieties that are actually kind of bigger like a peach too as well.
Well, you've got a wonderful area. We'll keep looking at more neat vistas.
Wonderful.
Tanya, now we've got a bunch of edibles here, and I see your little sweet daughter, Rowan, has her own little favorites as well.
She does. She's pretty particular about the things she likes to eat in the yard.
Now she's looked at the yellow and the orange, and she said, I like the purple blue.
She does. She likes the spiderwort because the flowers are pretty yummy as well.
You said they're edible, and they're also beautiful.
They are. It's a Florida native. It's kind of neat where the stalks are edible when they're young, and the flowers, the blooms are pretty and edible. And then the young stalks can be cooked like asparagus, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, that's neat that you can use like almost the whole plant. And I've seen so many plants in your yard that you seem to find other uses, more so than what I knew, that the whole thing could be used here, the leaf and the flower, and that's great.
We like to take advantage of the Florida natives too. Where this one you can find on the roadside, but I like to dedicate a certain area of my yard to them because they are beautiful and edible as well.
That's tremendous. Now I see you've got Irish potatoes, you of course have pineapples, you've got gingers, you've got everything, every vista I look at, I see something that's nice and edible.
It is. That's one of the nice things about having so many different varieties of edibles in the yard. It all looks different, and you can eat all of it.
You were talking, we've got mangoes, you've got some bananas we talked about, and so you've got fruit, you've got veggies, you've got the whole grocery store in your backyard and front yard.
We have a lot. We have 41 fruit trees, so we have a lot of different fruits. We have a lot of vegetables, a lot of greens, 2 edible greens that are perennial, where you just plant them once and they just grow, so you can just harvest them for years and years to come.
I know you've got rosemary back here, sort of a hedge plant.
We do.
And I like that. I often will put that with with dishes like fish or chicken, or often I'll just eat sprigs of it sometimes because it's good for you.
We use it in tea a lot, and then we add it to rice. The false cardamom with some lemongrass and some rosemary makes a really yummy rice.
Now, do you take your lemongrass and just take a piece or 2 of it, or do you actually take some people like to grind it down?
No, I just cut it up and throw it in the rice.
Okay, cool. And I just wondered, because I've had folks, I talked to one lady from Thailand, and she was talking about how they take the root part and they actually use a pestle and make it into like a mix, and I thought it seemed like a lot of work.
That does seem like a lot of work to me. I'm more lazy than that.
Well, then that's what we want here on the show, because I think most of us want something you can kind of grab and go.
It's easy. I like plants that are easy to grow. So everything in my yard, all, 250 different varieties of things are pretty easy to grow.
That's amazing. Then, of course, you've got mulch, and I see you're using a lot of organic, you're recycling.
Yeah, we end up calling a lot of tree services, and they'll drop off a load of mulch, and then we'll put it in our garden beds, and usually by the next year that mulch just turns into some really good dirt.
Which I think is great. One of the solutions to pollution is dilution, and that's true with yard waste too. When you start filling up landfills with stuff that can be recycled in your own yard, it really makes sense to me for people to do that.
You definitely can catch me and my husband grabbing bags of leaves from the sides of the roads and adding it to our garden beds as well.
Well, that's good that he's part of the program.
He is.
He is the official grabber and goer and recycler as well, right?
Yes.
That is excellent. So I think it's important that we've taught people a few things, that you can grow things in your yard. Many things are edible, and most things you could make your whole landscape inedible, as you've done.
You can, pretty easily too.
And I noticed a few times I point to the neighbor's thing, you go, well, that's on the neighbor's side. My yard has the edibles. Right across the way is the line of demarcation where their stuff is not.
My kids are definitely told not to eat anything that's not from our yard.
Right.
So they kind of know to
stay in here.
Yes.
To stay here and eat here. Well, I like it. You've got your dinner table right here in the yard, and she likes her Barney as well as her other edible stuff too.
She does. Should be 2 next month, so she's getting independent.
You're just pretty and moving all around the world. That's great. I think it's marvelous.
She's learning about all the plants, right?
And we see you've got some ginger, and I see even what looks like a little Irish potato over here maybe as well.
We have, this is false cardamom, and so it doesn't get as tall as regular cardamom, and you can smell the leaves, and it smells distinctly like cardamom. So you can use it in different teas and soups and rices, and it gives like the same flavor but a little bit more faint, which is this one right here. And then there's some blueberries right here that are actually just starting to get little traces of what is going to be a flower in a couple of months. And then there's some pineapples that are planted everywhere. Ginger's over there hiding. This is actually a funny mix, and I didn't plant this. He kind of ended up here, but I left him because it's delicious. It's a mix between a kale and a mustard green. So, and it's a pleasant to eat, and it has a little bit of spice, a little bit of kick to it.
A kale muss or musk kale? No, I don't know. I'm just joking with you.
Thank you.
But that's great. So you use that as a green or as a young one, maybe in a salad?
We use it in everything from soups to salads to, the larger leaves, we'll put rice in there and roll it up and just eat them because the flavor is really, it really is delicious.
That sounds interesting. Well, I just love it that you've got so many different things that you can have in your yard for you and the family. And your kids will grow up saying, hey, my yard was edible.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad had me doing, growing different things and eating different things.
Yeah.
Which is tremendous, because so many times you see people who just, their kids know nothing more than fast food, and I really kind of feel sorry for them.
I definitely give a lot of tours, and I remember there's a lot of kids that would come by and say, you can't eat that, that's a leaf, and I'm like, or they're surprised that pineapples don't grow underground, or it's definitely, it's enlightening when you show them where their food comes from.
It's amazing. Well, we really appreciate you showing us some of the interesting things that you have here. This is wonderful.
Thanks.